Hi everyone. Happy New Year. It feels great to be back after my January hiatus. And just like that, we are in the fifth of 2025. Can you just imagine that? That is how time flies. Anyway, before I go into all that, in case you're seeing me for the first time or you haven't subscribed to my channel, can you just take a moment and click that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel? Thank you. All right, so in this video, I want to talk about intentionality. So sometime last week, I was speaking with a friend and I was talking about my life and how I chose the kind of job I wanted to do and all that. And one thing that struck her was the intentionality that went into my decision and my choice. Well, she asked me, where did you learn that from? And to be honest, I couldn't give her an answer because I can't say categorically that this was where I learned to be intentional about many things. I didn't really have a mentor, a coach growing up. I didn't really have anyone I could talk to that I felt would understand me. Not that there were no people around, but I didn't feel anybody would understand me. So I didn't talk to anyone. I just used to introspect and just think through matters on my own. But one thing I've learned over time is the fact that if you're not intentional about making certain choices, they come back to haunt you in the future. And so intentionality is one thing that I've learned that as women we need in our lives. We have to be intentional about our choices. We have to be intentional about so many things, where to go, the kind of friends to keep and all that. And it can be challenging, which is why I thought it would be a good thing to start 2025 with. You see, everybody tells us to be intentional. Oh, be intentional about your food. Be intentional about your friends. Be intentional about your choices. Be intentional about this. Be intentional about that. Be intentional about your faith. Be intentional about... There's so many things to be intentional about. And the truth is, being intentional takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of mental energy. It takes a lot of emotional energy. It takes a lot of spiritual energy to actually think through every single thing you are doing. It means you can't even relax. You can't even just, rest and just do things on a whim. It can get tiring at times. And the truth is, if you try to live like that about every single thing, you will eventually burn out. The question then is, how can I live an intentional life without trying to force intentionality in every area and without feeling burnt out? How can I get to that point where I can say, okay, yes, I'm making intentional choices, but I'm not feeling burnt out by always trying to be on my toes and starting to feel anxious about the choices I'm making. Oh, am I intentional? Am I intentional? And all that. How can I live intentionally without being burnt out in trying to be intentional, if you get what I mean? So if that's a question that you have, then I have an answer for you. Here's what you need to do. Number one, you need to be strong on finding your why. And the earlier in your life you do that, the better for you, the better for everyone around you. It's important you find out your why. Why am I here? Why am I on earth? What am I living for? What's the most important thing for me? One way that you can find the answer to that question is to ask yourself, at the end of my life, because your life here will end one day, we all know that. So at the end of that life, what is the one thing I will regret if I do not do or I do not get? That one thing determines your why. What is your biggest motivator in life? It's the big picture of your life. What is that thing? And it's going to look different for everybody in the sense that I can't answer the question for you. You can't answer it for your child. Each person knows that thing and you begin to learn it as you grow up. Now, as a parent, my job is to help my child find their why. If I can help them, then I've given them the greatest gift that I can give them. I'm not talking about things like, oh, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be a fashion designer. No. I'm talking about the overarching purpose of your life. I'm talking about the defining thing. So, for example, you can say, for me, the most important thing is that I want to live a life that pleases God. For me, for example, it was early in my life. I read that story of the talents, and I wanted to be that servant that the master said, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Welcome into the rest of your master. Now, if you find your overarching purpose, it helps you to become intentional about many other things. So it will determine the kind of people you keep around you. It will determine the kind of places you go to. It will determine the kind of lifestyle you live, largely. So it will help you make informed choices. I don't have to think too far. You understand? The things I'm intentional about are things like, for example, for me, because of my overarching why, the things I'm intentional about are finding out what God wants. That's the one thing I'm intentional about, and living it out in my life. So I want to know, what is it that God really wants from a person? And how do I find that out? I study the scriptures, I pray, I listen to sermons. I want to learn as much about God as I can, because I know that in doing that and finding out what He wants, then I will achieve my purpose. So if I'm caught between two choices, you can almost always guess which choice I will take or how I will handle it. The things I have to be intentional about are not many. I don't have to be intentional about keeping friends, doing this, losing weight. You understand? The things I have to be intentional about are few. It's about finding out what God wants. And in doing that, other things begin to fall into place. And that's really what it is. If you find somebody, for example, who wants to win a race, who wants to compete in the Olympics, because that's a major goal for that person, you'll find out that it will quickly direct to channel their energies and help them channel their lives in a certain way. There are certain things they won't eat. You don't have to ask too many questions. You understand? That goal has helped them define certain parameters of their lives. So it's not about, oh, how do I become intentional about eating? How do I become? No. The goal helps them. Even when they want to eat certain things, alarm bells go off and it pushes them back to align with the goal. And so it becomes very easy to be intentional in that way. Sit down. If you haven't done it, there's no age that is too old to ask yourself, what is my why? What is my overarching purpose? And in doing that, it becomes a thing you're intentional about, and it begins to help you align your life, find direction, and choose that one thing that you need to be intentional about that will help you to define the other things. Number 2, wear that why like a badge. Don't be ashamed of it. When I say wear it like a badge, a badge is silent. You don't have to. If I wear a badge saying I am 40 years old, the badge has said it. It's not something I need to go screaming about. Hey, I'm 40. Hey, I'm 40. Not necessarily, but the badge has said it. Wherever I get the opportunity to speak about it, I will speak about it. I don't hide it at all. You don't hide your why. The people who are around you should know it clearly that this is what this person is about. Why? It helps to define you and keep you within certain boundaries. People who don't align will naturally follow. They'll just be like, no. Some people will even tell others, don't bother going to her, she won't do it. They know you. So it helps you to filter off inanities. Wear it like a badge. Be proud of your why. If your why is not something you're proud about, maybe you haven't found your why yet. Be proud about it. Don't hide it. Not saying everywhere you go you should be screaming. Not necessarily. If you have to talk about it, don't be shy to talk about it. But be open about it. Don't hide it. You don't have to hide what your why is. It will define you. It will help people locate you faster, and to help you filter out inanities faster. The minute you know that this doesn't align, or some things will not even come your way because they know they won't align, Do you understand? There are some kind of places you won't even go to. There are some kind of things that won't find you. There are some kind of people you won't meet. There's some, things like that, because you have defined your why and you are not ashamed to communicate it. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is that intentionality should be about the why, not about the route to getting there. Here's what I mean. The route can change, but the why will never change. So, for example, if I'm in Ibadan and I want to get to Lagos, I may find out that, there's traffic on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. So I might change my route. It will look as though, you're going further. You're going inside Shagamu or something. I'm just giving an example. Or you're going to take the Lekki-Ekpe expressway. And it looks like you're going further away from where you're going. But because you understand that my destination has not changed, what has changed is my route to getting there. So if you forget anything I've said today, don't forget this. You cannot afford to live your life anyhow. We all know that. It catches up with you later in life. If you live a rough life, you make wrong choices, consequences of your choices will catch up with you in the future. And unfortunately, ignorance about the consequences of your actions or your choices does not preclude you from those consequences. You can't say, I didn't know, therefore you're not going to suffer the consequences or enjoy the consequences. So it's the choices that have to be right. You have to be intentional about your choices. But to avoid having to be intentional about this and that all the time, to help you get there faster, I've said, find your why. Be intentional about finding your why. And finding that why will give you the direction and help you streamline and take your life in the direction that you want it to go. Did you learn something on this video? Tell me in the comments. I look forward to an enriching new year with you. Till I come your way again next time. Ciao.